Good morning. In week 7, we are going to do what I think is sort of the cutting edge of concern about coastal zones and the whole issue of coastal policy. And that is the discussion about natural disasters and coastal zone planning, management, the impact of disasters, uh, not only on the coastal zones, but um, here we're not biologists in this class necessarily. What we are is coastal managers, coastal policy, students of coastal policy. And so the single greatest, I think, focus here becomes infrastructure, populations on the coast, issues of how to uh, avoid disaster, mitigate disaster, respond to disaster, and that includes, of course, primarily trying to evacuate people and dealing with casualty reduction. As you know, the famous Galveston hurricane is still the natural disaster in the United States that has caused the greatest number of human casualties, which is very hard to believe since it was a long time ago. We have tried to put together some readings for you here that encompass some of the more interesting policy-oriented concerns, and I hope you'll enjoy those. I wanted to say, because we are right now just a few days before the climate change conference in Copenhagen, that all of the sort of buzz and all of the politics of coastal climate and coastal policy concern revolves around the question of whether there is global warming, or more precisely, how much global warming there is, what the cause of global warming is, how far it will go. Will it go to the sort of maximum in terms of rises in sea level, for example, and whether there is some concern about what part of that is caused by human activity, what part of that is cyclical, and that all leaves the design of responses to it very open to politicization. And you saw just this week some scientists in England were hacked, and their emails were posted on websites, and those emails are very embarrassing because these climate scientists were essentially trying to squash evidence that contradicts some of the commonly accepted insights or truisms about global warming. And so it came at an incredibly bad time to try and put together international agreements on climate change. But you have to incorporate this into your own thinking. You and I cannot simply say, well, here's the evidence. The scientists have this to say. Here's the evidence. Here are the temperatures of the ocean rising and ice caps melting and so on. And therefore, here's what we have to do in terms of changing how human beings behave, how energy is used in both transportation as well as production of electricity, how we have to reduce greenhouse gases, how we have to balance out the concerns of third world countries. For example, China and India are very reluctant to have limits and caps on their emissions. China has just surpassed the United States in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, and yet they're saying, it's our turn to develop, and if we impose too strict a rule on, the industries and transportation and so on, it'll slow down our economic growth. So it's a very complicated problem, and the reason we talk about the politics of climate change is precisely because it involves different opinions. It involves interests, commercial interests, business interests, environmental interests, employment interests, national interests that are in conflict with each other, and for which the decisions that are made on climate change will have crucial consequences. So think about that as you read some of this material as well. This thing behind me here, by the way, is a mat that's made out of palm tree bark, made in the Kingdom of Tonga in the South Pacific, where we were several years ago on an extended trip to check out some of the coastal zone issues and some of the reefs and other things. So in case you were wondering what that was, it's very, very beautiful stuff that they do with palm bark. Have a nice day. Have a nice week. Looking forward to kind of wrapping up the course. I'm putting together an updated website with information about the International Coastal Integrated Coastal Zone Management class. We're going to put some new things into it that deal with the climate change, international agreements, and so on. And so keep an eye on that, and I'll send you a link as soon as that's ready to go. So have a nice day.